in the last few years, as people feel the financial tightness, the first thing they cut is donations. As they say, the mind that created the problem cannot find the solution. We have to hand over the steering wheel to life, or nature, or God, give any name you want, and follow it. For us, it's the animals. We've made Vrouva Farm to serve the animals. We started out of compassion, but in the process, we discovered that by helping the animals heal, by serving them, but by making sure they have a good life, we removed ourselves as humans from the center of the picture. We put the animals in the center. And animals connect you directly to nature. And the animals who we started out to save and rescue have become our teachers and our guides.
For nature.
For the ocean. For people.
For animals. Welcome, beautiful SANUSPLANET community. I'm really happy that you're here today, and I have such a big smile in my face because I see this beautiful guest I have today. Two guests, as you can see. If you listen to this podcast in the video form, you can see that I have two guests here. It's so beautiful. We have the beautiful Alexia Papagianni, who's talking today about the Vrouva Farm, because she's the founder of the Vrouva Farm, which is an animal sanctuary in Greece on the island of Aegina. Beautiful. And we have another guest here today that Alexia will tell us a little bit about. What's the name of your guest, Alexia?
So this is Yoshiko.
Yoshiko.
And I speak, he purrs. That's the deal.
That's the deal. So he purrs something in your ears and you will share us the stories. Nice, amazing. So thank you, first of all, that you took the time to be in this podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
You're more than welcome. I love what you do. I love what you stand for. Definitely, you have a big spot here because, yeah, we share many common visions, and everybody who's listening today will hear that soon. But first of all, that everybody knows what this podcast will be about. So today we will talk about the Vrouva Farm. We'll talk about animal rights. We'll talk also about the topic of our food choice. We'll talk about how this is all connected, and we will talk about this beautiful association that Alexia created, which is called the Vrouva Farm, which is an animal sanctuary. And I have found something on your website that I really like. That was written, "Different species, one caring community, a safe haven for old, abandoned, and abused animals on the island of Aegina in Greece." So Alexia, welcome, I said already, but hey, share a little bit about you. Who are you? What have you done in your life that you came to this point to create such a beautiful place for animals? Can you share?
Oh, wow. Another guest.
Another guest. That's so beautiful. I love this picture.
So I have most of my life behind me. I have done a lot of things because I'm in my 60s. I'm Greek, of Greek parents, and mostly I've lived in Greece. And I was always an animal person. And those of you listening who are animal people know what I mean. It's a lot of people like animals, but for some of us, it's a calling. And we animal people were born this way, and we know it ever since we are little. We have an affinity to animals. Our parents have to drag us away from every kitten, every puppy, every snail. So I was one of these people in Greece in the 60s where this was not very common. I always wanted to work with live beings. So I studied biology thinking that that would be a good way to serve the animals. But after many years of study and degrees and postgrad and work in the university, I had an epiphany one day, and I realized that I was serving other interests and not those of, the third guest.
Nice troop.
The animals that I so loved. And I left the academia and went to live in a faraway farm in a rural area in Greece. And there, with my partner at the time, we started, now we're in the late 80s, a self-sufficient farm. But we had animals which we ate because we didn't know any better. So this gives me a lot of understanding today for people who behave in violent ways out of ignorance, behave in violent ways towards animals out of ignorance, because I was one of these people. And of course, happily, we humans have a conscience. So something was not sitting right. So after years of farm life, I left and I traveled. And at some point in my 50s, I let life take over. And life knows why you've come here. So life grabbed me by the ear and brought me here to Aegina and started throwing abandoned animals in my path. And I worked at the local shelter, and pretty soon I had filled my house with stray animals, which I was caring for and rehoming. And then the bigger animals started coming. Vrouva Farm started more by chance. It started in a coffee shop where we were commiserating with a group of other animal lovers about the plight of stray animals on the island. And somebody said, "Hey, Alexia, don't you have a piece of land in the hills? Why don't we go and drink coffee there next time so that we don't have to see all these miserable strays on the street?" Then somebody else said, "Oh, why don't we fence a little area and take some of the animals there so at least a handful can have a happy life?" That's how Vrouva Farm started, with a handful of cats and dogs from the streets of Aegina. Pardon?
So beautiful. I love it. It's so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing is the word. 14 years later, I look at our farm sanctuary and I'm surprised. I'm like, how did this thing happen? And it is a great lesson to me in following life, because particularly in this difficult times where we have really messed up things on planet Earth and the future looks very bleak. As they say, the mind that created the problem cannot find the solution.
Yeah.
So we have to hand over the steering wheel to life or nature or God, give any name you want, and follow it. For us, it's the animals. We've made Vrouva Farm to serve the animals. And we do that. We started out of compassion. We felt sorry for them. So we made a safe place for them where the few that we could rescue could have a happy life, maybe find forever homes, maybe finish their life at our farm. But in the process, we discovered that by helping the animals heal, by serving them, but by making sure they have a good life, we removed ourselves as humans from the center of the picture. We put the animals in the center. And animals connect you directly to nature. They connect you to the correct way of doing things, the natural way of doing things. So we are connected to a different reality. And the animals who we started out to save and rescue have become our teachers and our guides. And they're teaching us about selflessness. They're teaching us about community. They're teaching us about living lightly on the planet. And they're teaching us about exchanging a life full of pleasures and the pursuit of pleasures with a life full of meaning and the pursuit of meaning.
Yeah.
So I went off on a tangent there.
Completely great. It's so amazing what you say, because there are so many important inputs inside, and I can share so many things that are related to that. I was just in Thailand for a project about elephants, and these animals have been through such big pain done by humans. And when they come to a place where they're allowed to heal and to become elephants, the first time in their life to really be elephants, they show us that forgiveness is possible, because they
Yes.
have all rights on earth to hate humans, but they don't. Some of them sometimes for the beginning, yes, but then they start to see, hey, these people here mean it good with me, so I can heal. So they give us the, I don't know, it's for me this exact same. They show us that compassion and love and forgiveness and all of this is possible, and that we can connect to our true inner love and inner self. And I think that is why animals are so healing for people. Why do you think, because this is a big topic, why do you think we have been there? You have eaten meat, I have eaten meat. We don't do that today. We had different experiences in life that guided us to where we are now, because we started listening, questioning, looking behind the scene. Why do you think is it that people look away so long? What do you think are the reasons in your mind?
Well, I think meat is a very rich food, right? So I think the consumption of meat started at a time when people were dying of hunger. And they ate everything they could find, and they ate insects, and they ate rotting carcasses. And I think that's how it started. Now, humans, we must not forget our pack animals. So we're very, what's the word in English? We're very dominated by our culture. What other people around us think and do is a very strong influence. So today, where we no longer need to eat meat, and I think the majority of people know that meat is unnecessary, unhealthy, a total disaster for our planet, and cruel and inhumane towards the animals. Thankfully, there's enough documentaries, there's enough information out there. Most people know that. And still, we continue to consume meat out of habit and out of social pressure. Of course, let's not forget that there are very strong financial interests that want to make sure that this appalling habit continues. And I think it is a sign of hope and a sign of freedom and a sign of independence of our mind that there are people that can resist all this social pressure and all these huge financial interests and transition to a plant-based vegan diet. And of course, they see the difference, and their families see the difference, and their friends see the difference. It's very hard and very rewarding. And this is why I mentioned how important it is to move from a life governed by pleasures to a life that has meaning.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
As we look at the abysmal state our environment is, and the really bleak prospects of the future, there is one thing that we can do that makes a difference, and that is stop eating animals.
Yeah. I so much agree with you. When people start to see the benefits, like sometimes people are afraid of it because of the circumstances, because of what they learned and got taught. Everybody says you need to eat meat to be healthy. That's not true anymore today. We know today it's not the truth. It was never, but it was believed. And now we understand there are different possibilities, and people start to grow up. People start to look behind, to ask questions. And I love that. And even if someone is listening today who's not there, that's okay. I was not there. I had different experiences. I always want to invite people to share with them how beautiful it can be, so people can take their own choice, and then it's becoming a lasting choice. How do you do that on your farm? Because on the Vrouva Farm, it's an animal sanctuary. People will come, they will join, probably as volunteers and also as visitors. And by the way, before I ask this question, I have seen one thing on your page as well about volunteering, and this is such a beautiful saying. I need to read that out loud for everybody. When you write about volunteering, you wrote, volunteers are the backbone of Vrouva. We are a diverse group striving to overcome the barriers that divide us and work together to help animals, which is a very rewarding experience. We are united by our love for animals, nature, and for the farm itself. It's amazing. I love it. Thank you for that. When people come to your farm to volunteer or to visit, And many of them probably are not vegan or don't know about veganism or just have no clue about it. How do you deal with it? How do you do it that they get to know it? And how do they go home with which feeling? What is your experience there?
So visitors and volunteers are two different categories. With visitors, we sometimes wonder if there is any point in visitors coming to the farm because it's upsetting for the animals. Often we feel that they get objectified.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people just come and say, "Oh, look at the cow. Oh, look at the big pig. Nice pork chops." And so visiting is a little difficult. We do it once a month only.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I do the visits so I can talk to people. There are some cases though that you think, yeah, it's worth it. Like I will never forget, our cow Hope is very friendly. So when we give the tour to visitors, I always make sure and I tell people, here's a place of offering, of service. You have to give more than you take. So we go to our animals full of treats and cuddles and kind words. So one of the favorite treats is carobs, which grow on the island. So there was this family that was giving our cow carobs. Our cow loves carobs, so she put out her big tongue and took the carob, and there was a little girl who was feeding her and laughing, and suddenly I saw this little girl turn pale, her face dropped. I'm like, what's the matter? Are you afraid? She's like, no, I saw the cow's tongue. My mother eats this. And I thought, this little girl has made the connection between a living being and meat.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, Visitor Day is worth it just for that.
Yeah.
For the one child that will make the connection.
Yeah.
Against the whole society that tries to reinforce cognitive dissonance and disconnect the piece of dead body on your plate with the animal and call it all sorts of names so that you won't make the connection. So, but often people will just come, take selfies, go back home in visits. However, with volunteers, it's a very different situation because volunteers come and stay and they live with the animals, and we live a very simple life at the farm. We have very little electricity, accommodation is near nature, and we're around animals all the time, and we're around animals that are used to interacting with humans and feel safe and are used to humans that communicate, so they're all open to communication. So in all this, it makes a lot of sense to everybody to not eat animals. We've never had somebody complain about the vegan diet at the farm. And most of our volunteers are not vegan when they come. We do not push an agenda. We don't do propaganda. And we just believe that the animals do that by living their beautiful lives, by showing their unique characters, the complexity of their emotions and their thoughts. And we make sure to provide guidance and a balanced vegan diet, which of course is fresh, local, delicious, organic when we can. So people are exposed to a lot of good food, communication with life and the animals, living in a very diverse community. And usually they leave healthier, happier, more centered, more peaceful than when they came. Many of our volunteers come back. We've had a few people that became vegan after volunteering with us. I have to say that most didn't. However, I think almost everybody added more vegetable food in their diet, is eating with more awareness, is eating less meat. And this gives us much joy. And and they leave knowing how to cook delicious vegetable meals.
Yeah, that's an important thing, right? Because people are not so much used sometimes to eat vegetables. And then sometimes people think it's a bit boring, but it's not at all. If you know how to use it, it's fantastic, right? There's just a different trying out that needs to happen that you can see. It's so beautiful and it feels so good. You feel lighter. You feel if you make it in a nice way, it's so beautiful and gives so many benefits. That's the cool thing. And when people can experience that firsthand, and when they can get to know the different ways of possibilities, I think then it's like a seed that you give them.
Yeah.
They can choose to plant it and to let it grow. And it's beautiful. I love it. How many animals do you have on your farm?
We have about 140 animals.
140, nice.
Yeah. And we have everything from the little ones, the bunnies, the pigeons, the chickens, to the big ones. Donkeys and goats and sheep and pigs, and we even have a cow.
Yes, I heard. I read before you have said the name of the cow, Hope. In Greece, it's called El Pipa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So she's called El Pipa, which means hope, and she was the first rescue cow you had on your farm.
She's the first rescued cow in Greece.
In Greece, Wow.
And
Can you share her story a little bit?
people say, what is a rescued cow? And I answer, a cow that will happily live 20 years instead of 4, a cow that will not be murdered. This is the shocking truth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't know the shocking truth.
Yeah.
It is painful when you start to look at the things. It can be painful, but I think that we have to we have to learn to hold that pain so that we can get beyond. I think that is one of the most important things in the times of today. It's not about we need to look at the bad things and hold on the bad things and then everything is bad. No, but we need to look at what we have done, what we have created, and then we can find solutions to make a better place in this world for everyone.
Exactly. And I go back to what you said about forgiveness. When you start looking in the face of what we humans have done on this planet and and the horrors we're still inflicting on live beings, whether it's plants, whether it's animals, whether it's other humans, it's overwhelming, it's depressing, it's devastating. We have the benefit that we spend our days with animals, and animals are so positive, so forgiving, so full of kindness. They're like little gurus. And I think the process is waking up, becoming aware of what we're doing, stopping to do it as much as possible, because how can you ask forgiveness when you're still inflicting the same horrors, when you're funding people murdering animals, So I think the time has come to ask for forgiveness and try in the small way that we each can to make amends. And particularly domestic animals, because they've been near humans for so many centuries. They're here to guide us along the way. They're here to remind us that love is everywhere. You don't need to do a big hoopla. They're here. Like here, you see?
Yes.
This is love.
Oh, so cute. And you can see how much he looks at you. He loves you. He loves to be cuddled. So nice.
Look at this. They're all here.
They're all here. They all feel it. It's an energy that you send out. They know that they're happy there. They know that nothing happened. And okay, everybody could say, yeah, this is pets, like this is dogs and cats that we keep as pets. Of course, they love you because we always hug them. But I can pretty much assure that the same happens with your cow. The same happens with with all of the other animals that you have on the farm, because they feel safe next to you. They know nothing happens to them, nothing bad. They are safe in a safe environment.
And for a lot of people, they start with cats and dogs because it's easier.
Yeah.
Dogs are better at communicating with us. When it comes to the other animals, the horses, the pigs, you have to put a bit more effort in communicating. But once the dogs and cats have taught you how to do it, then it's just a question of time and patience. And even the chickens, even the ducks, everybody will communicate with you. And we practice that in our everyday life at the farm by being open to communicating with people of different cultures, different ages, different sexual orientations, different occupations, everything. In the beginning, people will come, and then somebody of a different age group will come, and they'll be like, oh, too old, too young. Oh, I don't speak that language. Oh, and you learn to be open to diversity, open to life.
Yeah.
And you reap the rewards.
Yeah.
Of being happy, being fulfilled, being optimistic. Hi, Christopher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. You also have written on your homepage. I checked out the whole homepage. It's so beautiful. You wrote about the stories of the animals that live there, so everybody can read about the stories, check them out. So beautiful. And you wrote about your guiding principles, and I love them. That was written, they are ecology, non-violence, veganism, and the lessons that the animals teach you. You wrote there that these principles help you to overcome conflict, financial difficulties, social prejudice, and the pain of knowing the hardship that these animals have endured. And I have two questions about that topic. Well, the first question is, what are the financial difficulties that you face on a daily basis having an animal farm? I can imagine, but I have never done it. So I think even if I can imagine, it does not mean I understand. So many people have no idea what it means. Many people want to help. I also had a talk with someone caring for cats. And she said, people bring the cats with disabilities, people bring the cats. After the second month, they maybe still send €5 as a bit of a support, but then they forget the cat. So like out of the view, out of sight, out of whatever. How is it happening in your farm? How do you get through that? How do you pay for all of this? How does this work?
Okay, so I have ADD, attention deficit disorder, and one of the symptoms of attention deficit disorder is that we love taking risks. So if I didn't have ADD, I would never start a farm sanctuary in Greece in a time of economic crisis.
Yeah, great. How's it called in English? ADED? ADED.
ADD.
ADD. Yes.
It's a syndrome. It's what the little boys are diagnosed at school, attention deficit disorder.
Yes, in German it's called ADS, ADHS, something like that. So
yeah, that's
great that you have it because it brought you here. It's amazing.
So, of course, it's a very bad time, and the need is huge, and it is a very difficult and scary topic because our farm works with volunteers and depends on donations. We started it in 2011, and Greece was in the midst of economic crisis, and we had a really good idea back then, and that was to set up a farm sanctuary that would run on very little money. This was brilliant, and if we had done that, sorry, break. I'm back. So if we hadn't done that, we would have gone under. So everything we make at the farm, like volunteer accommodation, animal accommodation, fencing, we use recycled material. We use things that people donate or we find in the dump. It's very simple. It's very eco-friendly. It doesn't look nice and fancy, but it's great. And then we work with volunteers, so we don't have any expenses for salaries, offices. We use our own cars. We use what food we can find on the island that would be thrown away, like leftover food. People donate leftover food from shops. We try to let our animals graze in the mountains as much as we can. So our vets are amazing. They give us special prices. They train us so we can do a lot of procedures, simple procedures ourselves. So the idea is to try and have something that runs on as little money as possible. This has served us very well, because in the last few years, as people feel the financial tightness, the first thing they cut is donations. Our second strategy is that we work a lot with personal relationships, where we don't have marketing specialists. And when you go on social media now, you have to compete with people that are professionals. So we're really not good at that. We keep our social media for our friends, and we work with friends. We try to make friends. We try to relate personally to the people that support us. We have a €1 group, people who support €1 a month. And this is 300 people. So this is €300 a month. This is amazing for us. We have people who donate €5 a month. And we have volunteers that might send a donation. We have family members, and everybody who helps Vrouva keep doing the work is part of the big Vrouva family. We keep in touch. We send personal emails. We invite people. We take, we relate personally. And also we believe in miracles, because sometimes we're so in such a tight place that we are like, now what? And then miraculously something happens. It always has. Sometimes we've had to tighten our belts, and sometimes our animals could use better food, or new blankets, or a new coat of paint, which they don't in their barns, which they don't get. But living very simply and prioritizing an eco-friendly way of life with personal relationships and care for the planet and our animals, so far has served us well. We're in our 14th year. There is a wonderful German organization that helps us. They're called Frieden für Pfoten. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Peaceful Cause. And a few times they've literally saved us when we were like between a rock and a hard place, and we would say, cry help. And they would ask their supporters, they would send us dog food, cat food, hay for our horses. We're hugely grateful to them.
Nice. That shows also this beautiful bond that happens between different sanctuaries, or between people who care for the same world, right? There's always something that is happening to help. Some people are always there with their full heart, and they want to support. And that's also what I want to say out now to the whole community of Sanus Life and Sanus Planet. You can support the Vrouva Farm. The Vrouva Farm is also signed up. You can also just send a donation directly if you want to. So if someone wants to help, that's a way to do it. There's so many NGOs that need support. Choose the ones that you like. Give a few coins, whatever. You can help if you can a little bit. And this project is made for everybody to have more possibilities and more chances to give something back. So yeah, be part of that change. And thank you so much for helping there. Do you? The other question I had about this is still about a little bit you shared already, like a story of your animals. You have so many beautiful animals just right now around you. Do you want to share a story of them? Something what they have been through, or how they came through?
Here, I'll tell you about Pico.
Nice. What is his name? Pico.
Pico.
Pico. Nice.
Pico. From Piccolo. Pico, I mean you. So Pico is, you see, that's his friend Sammy. You see how they love each other?
Yes.
They're giving each other kisses.
Nice.
And I get some kisses too.
Yes.
So Pico and Sammy were part of a group of small dogs that were kept under appalling conditions in an abandoned hotel room, and they were used for breeding. They were in that dark room all their life. They never went out. They were shy. They couldn't be touched by humans. They lived on their excrement. Somebody just threw some food to them. And whenever there was a litter of puppies, because it was them two and then some more, like, wait, I'll show you two more of that group. Like, you see those two there? And they just bred uncontrollably, and then the puppies got taken way too young and sold for a good price. Eventually, the police raided the place after the intervention of a kind animal lover, vegan she was, still is. And the dogs were confiscated. They went to the dog shelter, where unfortunately they fell ill. One of them died because they were so used to, they had lived all their life in that dark room that they couldn't deal with living in a shelter. And I brought them here to Vrouva. Part of Vrouva is also my house. We call it the dog house. And we keep the very sensitive animals, the very sick, very old, very young here. So I brought them here thinking it was a temporary measure. It took them 2 years, maybe even more, to recover, to heal, to stop being afraid. And then they communicated to me that what they wanted most in life was not a home, not somebody to love, but to be safe and to be with each other. I tried homing one of them, and he cried for 2 days straight. So he came back. So this little family, I call them the little gang of 6 little dogs, will live here, and they'll be safe and loved and not separated from each other for as long as they live.
So amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. This is one of the most amazing things that people can do, to care for other living beings, to care for each other, to be here for something greater than to just think for yourself, about yourself. This is so much bigger. And I think when people start to see that, how much it gives you back when you give and share your love and your compassion, how much comes back to you, it's all energetically, it's all energy, all of it. And if we send it out, the beautiful energy, it's coming back in the one way or the other. So thank you for everything you do. I will see that we can definitely support you as well, because we love what you do. And we're just grateful for that, for everything. Is there something else that you want to still share today in this podcast? I can imagine we can make another podcast maybe in a half year or something like that, to make a bit of an update. So how is it Vrouva moving forward? What's going on? But is there something you want to share still today with our community?
Yes, one little thing that we try to stay positive, but we have great difficulties because of the number of animals we have and because of the great needs we have. And every little help is very important to us. Even if it's €1, even if it's €2, it's very important to us, very necessary. And it will help us continue to save lives and make the lives of the animals we have better. So if you can, we would be very, very grateful for any help. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this as well. It's so important. It's one thing to share the stories and to talk about how beautiful it is with the animals and how hard it can be, but it is the other thing to then in the end accept and also receive support. That's another story. So thank you for saying that. And I want to strengthen that one as well. Please, the lovely community, help when you can, because there is so much help needed. And if we are getting stronger together, then we can do so much more. So thanks for everybody for listening today. I wish you a beautiful time, and talk to you next time. In 2 weeks is the next podcast episode coming out. Thank you all for joining. Bye, guys.
A big thank you to you and to SANUSPLANET for giving us the space to talk about our work. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.